Here's a translation of the descriptions of the 35 wars that significantly influenced world history. 1. Trojan War, circa 1200 BC. The Trojan War is a mythical war between the Greeks and the Trojans, described in Homer's Iliad. It is believed that the Greeks besieged the city of Troy for 10 years. The war ended with the destruction of Troy, inspiring numerous subsequent literary works. The war demonstrated the importance of strategic thinking and alliances. The story of the Trojan horse became a symbol of cunning and deceit. 2. Persian Wars, 500 to 449 BC. Battles between Greek city-states and the Persian Empire. Key events included the battles of Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis. The Greek victory halted Persian expansion into Europe. The war contributed to the rise of Athenian democracy and culture. These wars strengthened the Greek identity as a unified nation. 3. Peloponnesian War, 431 to 404 BC. Conflict between Athens and Sparta for dominance in Greece. The war ended with Athens' defeat and a decline in its influence. This led to a temporary decline of Greek city-states. The conflict highlighted the importance of internal stability for external power. The war also demonstrated the brutality and destructiveness of civil conflicts. 4. Mahabharata, mythical war. The Mahabharata is an ancient Indian epic describing the war between the Pandavas and the Kauravas. The war symbolizes the struggle between good and evil. The epic contains important philosophical and moral lessons, including the Bhagavad Gita. The conflict and its consequences deeply influenced Indian culture and religion. The Mahabharata remains a crucial source of Indian moral and cultural values. 5. Macedonian conquests, 334 to 323 BC. Alexander the Great began his conquests, uniting Greece and conquering the Persian Empire. His empire stretched from Greece to India. The conquests spread Greek culture and science. After Alexander's death, his empire fragmented, but his legacy persisted. These events marked the beginning of the Hellenistic era. 6. Wars of the Diadochi, 322 to 275 BC. Conflicts among Alexander the Great's generals for control of his empire. The wars led to the creation of several Hellenistic states. These states further spread Greek culture. The constant conflicts undermined regional political stability. The Wars of the Diadochi exemplified how leaders' ambitions can destroy great empires. 7. Punic Wars, 264 to 146 BC. 3 wars between Rome and Carthage for control of the Mediterranean. Rome's victory led to Carthage's destruction. Rome became the dominant power in the region and began its expansion. The Punic Wars highlighted the importance of naval superiority and military strategy. These conflicts laid the foundation for the growth of the Roman Empire. 8. Gallic Wars, 58 to 50 BC. Julius Caesar's conquest of Gaul. The war resulted in Gaul becoming part of the Roman Empire. This provided Rome access to the region's rich resources. Caesar's victory strengthened his political position in Rome. The conflict contributed to the subsequent Roman civil wars. 9. Roman Civil Wars, 49 to 30 BC. A series of conflicts among various factions in Rome, including Caesar's war against Pompey. The wars led to the fall of the Roman Republic and the establishment of the empire. The outcome was the rise of Augustus. The conflicts highlighted the vulnerability of the republican system to internal contradictions. The civil wars permanently altered Rome's political landscape. 10. Roman Parthian Wars, 54 BC, 217 AD. Conflicts between the Roman Empire and the Parthian Empire for control of the Middle East. The wars had mixed outcomes for both sides. These conflicts underscored the region's importance as a strategic and economic center. The wars also highlighted the difficulties of long campaigns over vast distances. The results of these wars strengthened the eastern borders of the Roman Empire. 11. Chinese Civil War, 1927 to 1950. Struggle between the Kuomintang and the Communist Party of China for control of the country. The war ended with the Communists' victory and the establishment of the People's Republic of China. The Kuomintang retreated to Taiwan, where they established an alternative government. The conflict affected the balance of power in Asia and international relations. The war also brought about significant changes in Chinese society and economy. 12. Crusades, 1096 to 1291. A series of religious wars between Christians and Muslims for control of the Holy Land. The Crusades significantly influenced East-West relations. They facilitated cultural exchange and trade development. The wars weakened the Byzantine Empire and strengthened the Catholic Church. The Crusades left a deep historical legacy in Europe and the Middle East. 13. Mongol conquests, 1206 to 1368. The expansion of the Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan and his descendants. The Mongols created one of the largest empires in history, stretching from China to Eastern Europe. The conquests caused widespread destruction, but also facilitated cultural exchange and trade. Mongol rule left a significant legacy in the conquered regions. These events changed the political map of Eurasia. 14. Hundred Years' War, 1337 to 1453. Conflict between England and France for control of the French throne. The war lasted over a century, and included famous battles such as Agincourt. The outcome strengthened the French monarchy and weakened feudalism. The war contributed to the growth of national consciousness in both countries. The conflict also demonstrated the importance of military technology and tactics. 15. Wars of the Roses, 1455 to 1487. Dynastic conflict in England between the houses of Lancaster and York. The wars ended with the victory of the House of Tudor and the ascent of Henry VII. The conflict weakened the nobility and strengthened royal authority. The wars also led to social and economic changes in England. The conflict inspired many literary works, including Shakespeare's Henry VI. 16. Wars of the Reformation, 1517 to 1648. A series of religious and political conflicts sparked by the Protestant Reformation. The wars spanned much of Europe and led to significant changes in religious and political life. The outcome was the recognition of multiple Christian denominations and the weakening of papal authority. The conflicts strengthened national states. The wars also caused cultural and social transformations. 17. Great Turkish War, 1683 to 1699. Conflict between the Ottoman Empire and a coalition of European powers. The war began with the Siege of Vienna and ended with the Treaty of Karlowitz. The European victory halted Ottoman expansion into Europe. The war also highlighted the importance of modern medicine and journalism. The conflict underscored the need for reforms in the Ottoman Empire. 18. War of the Spanish Succession, 1701 to 1714. Conflict triggered by the dispute over the Spanish throne after the death of the last Spanish Habsburg. The war was fought between France and a coalition of European powers. The outcome was the Treaty of Utrecht, which limited French influence and confirmed Philip V on the Spanish throne. The war altered the balance of power in Europe and strengthened British influence. The conflict demonstrated the importance of dynastic alliances and international diplomacy. 19. Great Northern War, 1700 to 1721. Struggle for supremacy in Northern Europe between Sweden and a coalition led by Russia. The war ended with Sweden's defeat and the Treaty of Nystad. Russia, under Peter the Great, emerged as a major power. The conflict facilitated the modernization and Europeanization of Russia. The war also changed the political landscape of Scandinavia and the Baltic. 20. 7 Years' War, 1756 to 1763. A global conflict involving most of the great powers of the time, fought in Europe, America, Africa, and India. The primary opponents were Britain and Prussia against France, Austria, and their allies. The war ended with the Treaty of Paris, solidifying British colonial dominance. The conflict boosted Prussian influence in Europe. The war highlighted the importance of global strategy and naval power. 21. American War of Independence, 1775 to 1783. Uprising of the 13 American colonies against British rule. The war ended with the recognition of the independence of the United States of America. The conflict spread ideas of freedom and democracy. The war also demonstrated the importance of international support, particularly from France. The outcome marked the beginning of a new era in American and world history. 22. French Revolutionary Wars, 1792 to 1802. A series of military conflicts sparked by the French Revolution. France faced a coalition of European monarchies seeking to suppress the revolution. The wars led to significant territorial changes and increased French influence. The conflict spread revolutionary ideas throughout Europe. These wars paved the way for the Napoleonic Wars. 23. Napoleonic Wars, 1803 to 1815. Conflicts between the French Empire under Napoleon and various European coalitions. Napoleon expanded French influence, but ultimately suffered defeat at Waterloo. The wars led to major political and territorial changes in Europe. The outcome was the Congress of Vienna, which established a new European order. The conflict also fueled the rise of nationalism. 24. Crimean War, 1853 to 1856. Conflict between Russia and a coalition of Britain, France, the Ottoman Empire, and Sardinia. The war was fought for control over the Balkans and the Black Sea Straits. The outcome weakened Russian influence and strengthened Western powers. The war also highlighted the importance of modern medicine and journalism. The conflict underscored the need for reforms in the Russian Empire. 25. American Civil War, 1861 to 1865. Conflict between the Northern States, Union, and the Southern States, Confederacy, of the United States. The war ended with the Union's victory and the abolition of slavery. The conflict led to significant social and economic changes in America. The Civil War strengthened the federal structure of the United States. The war also demonstrated the importance of industrialization and railroads. The outcome paved the way for America's emergence as a major power. 26. Franco-Prussian War, 1870 to 1871. Conflict between France and Prussia that ended with the unification of Germany. The war resulted in France's defeat and the signing of the Treaty of Frankfurt. Germany emerged as a leading power in Europe, altering the balance of power. The conflict fueled German nationalism. The war also showcased the importance of rapid mobilization and army modernization. 27. Russo-Japanese War, 1904 to 1905. Conflict between the Russian Empire and Japan over control of Manchuria and Korea. The war ended with Russia's defeat and the signing of the Treaty of Portsmouth. Japan's victory established it as a major power in Asia. The conflict highlighted the importance of naval power and modernization. The war also led to internal reforms in Russia. 28. World War I, 1914 to 1918. A global conflict involving most of the world's great powers. The war ended with the defeat of the Central Powers and the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. The conflict led to significant political and territorial changes. The war also contributed to the fall of monarchies and the rise of nationalism. The outcome led to the creation of the League of Nations and efforts to establish a global order. 29. Russian Revolution and Civil War, 1917 to 1922. Revolution that led to the overthrow of the Tsarist regime and the establishment of Bolshevik power. The Civil War was fought between the Reds, Bolsheviks, and the Whites, anti-revolutionaries. The outcome was the establishment of Soviet power and the creation of the USSR. The conflict led to significant social and economic changes in Russia. The war also influenced global politics and ideology. 30. World War II, 1939 to 1945. A global conflict involving most countries around the world. The war ended with the defeat of the Axis powers and the signing of several peace treaties. The conflict led to significant territorial and political changes. The war also contributed to the creation of the United Nations and the start of the Cold War. The outcome divided the world into two opposing blocs, capitalist and socialist. 31. Korean War, 1950 to 1953. Conflict between North Korea, supported by China and the USSR, and South Korea, supported by the UN and the USA. The war ended with an armistice and the creation of a demilitarized zone. The conflict highlighted Cold War tensions and the importance of international alliances. The war also resulted in significant human and material losses. The outcome led to the ongoing division of Korea into two states. 32. Vietnam War, 1955 to 1975. Conflict between Communist North Vietnam and anti-Communist South Vietnam, supported by the USA. The war ended with North Vietnam's victory and the unification of the country under communist rule. The conflict was one of the largest military confrontations of the Cold War. The war had a significant impact on American society and politics. The outcome led to the lengthy reconstruction and development of socialist Vietnam. 33. Arab-Israeli Wars, 1948 to 1973. Series of conflicts between Israel and Arab states. Major wars included the War of Independence, the Six-Day War, and the Yom Kippur War. The conflicts resulted in significant territorial changes and established Israel as a key power in the region. The wars also increased tensions in the Middle East. The outcomes led to numerous peace agreements and ongoing conflicts. 34. Iran-Iraq War, 1980 to 1988. Conflict between Iran and Iraq over territorial and political disputes. The war ended without a clear victor, and with significant losses for both sides. The conflict highlighted the importance of strategic resources and geopolitics. The war also led to prolonged instability in the region. The outcome had economic and social consequences for both countries. 35. Gulf War, 1990 to 1991. Conflict between an international coalition led by the USA and Iraq following Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. The war ended with the coalition's victory and the liberation of Kuwait. The conflict underscored the importance of international cooperation and military technology. The war also highlighted the strategic significance of the Persian Gulf region. The outcome led to ongoing tensions and subsequent conflicts in the Middle East. These were 35 photos who told you about wars that significantly influenced world history. If you liked the video, like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new videos.